very good evening to you and welcome to Power Brief. It is the 16th day of the month of July, the year 2020, and tonight we focus on the state of devolution in Kenya since the year 2013, when first the Constitution of Kenya was promulgated in 2010 and gave Kenyans an opportunity to elect their leaders and have leadership being decentralized to the county levels. And tonight we are joined by Mr. Edwin Kegoli, who is a political analyst and also a political scientist. We are also joined by Mr. Daniel Kiplel, who is a youth leader and a person who has been in touch, following and focusing on the Kazi kwa Mtaani that has been initiated by the government. My name is Cornelius Omuse and I welcome you to join us in this discussion. And remember, this discussion is also live on our Facebook page, CAC TV Kenya, and our YouTube channel is also CAC TV Kenya. Keep it on CAC TV, and remember, all the opinions expressed in this show are not the official position of CAC TV, but opinions of our panelists. Gentlemen, welcome to Power Brief tonight.
Thank you.
Dan, it's your first time to be here.
Yeah, I want to thank you for welcoming here.
Okay, how is your localities? Let's have an overview of your localities as far as the reopening of counties by the government is concerned. How are people abiding to issues to do with the COVID-19? Still people, there are those ones who are still believing that COVID-19 does not exist. Ama watu wameanza kukubali?
Well, you cannot deny a fact for a very long time, because if you keep denying, then details keep coming to you, and I don't know why you'll keep denying. But looking at the way things are happening right now, people are taking precaution, knowing that right now movement is no longer restricted, and people are taking responsibility, because it is now like if you do not take responsibility, you're even exposing your very own family, which is not a very good thing. Mm-hmm. So we just continue to urge our fellow Kenyans to continue exercising responsibility, because now government has, made people to make their own choices. Mm-hmm. So it's up to us now to keep observing the Ministry of Health guidelines, mm-hmm. safety guidelines, so that we can overcome this pandemic.
Thanks, Mr. Edwin. Mr. Daniel, how about your locality? How are people taking the precautions and also the directive from the government?
I'll say so far so good. People are trying to adhere to the Ministry of Health directive. But at the same thing, I want to echo what Edwin has said, that we have to continue doing that. We have to continue keeping social distance. People should continue sanitizing and observing all the protocols that have been set as far as mm-hmm. taking the precautions are concerned.
Mm-hmm. Many thanks. Guys, before we get into our topic, having an overview on the Kenyan politics, and here there is this matter of the politics of Mulembe, the Western Kenya part politics, the two factions. A third one is coming up, though you'll tell us if indeed it's a faction or not, where Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Omalo and Oparanya, the governor for Kakamega, Senator Moses Wetangula and Musalia also having their camp. They have been having meetings in the same region or same county, same days, but you find that one faction are being denied the opportunity to hold their meetings. And there are questions that why is that happening? Are they seeking permission, or are they doing anything that is contrary to the law?
Well, the politics of my region have been one of a kind. Factions emerging every now and then, not even necessarily to advocate for the welfare and the agenda advancement of the region. However, it is defeating the unity purpose when we see different segmentations and groupings coming up speaking about unity, but when indeed they are dividing. And on the issue of holding meetings, I wouldn't say the Musalia Mudavadi group is being denied a chance to hold meetings, because you will just note that recently they held a meeting successfully, in which, of course, they have been airing their concerns and reservations. So we cannot say they are being denied a chance to hold meetings. And as regards to the moving forward of the Western region, this is a region that is only second to Central Kenya in terms of population. But when it comes to translating that numerical dominance into the ballot, is the issue and is the question.
They don't vote, or how do you want them to translate the votes into numerical, whatever the strength?
We don't turn out to register in large numbers. We don't turn out to vote in large numbers. We do not have that self-drive to translate our numerical dominance into actual votes, into that day of voting where our votes are cast. So what our leaders need to focus on is to find out why is it that Western Kenya is a region with very high population, but when it comes to matters election, we have this sort of apathy. We don't turn up with intent. We don't vote to make a statement. You know, you find some people say we'll only vote if you give us something. You know, we are not going to vote because how will it benefit me? So perhaps our leaders need to focus on sensitization. They need to instill in our people confidence of voting, because when you walk around our region, you'll find that, you know, the confidence of the electorate has been wrecked. Yeah, because of maybe poor service delivery, maybe, you know, we've been in the opposition for far too long, and perhaps our region has not appreciated too much the sense of being in government.
Yeah, there's this thing called Luya unity. It began as a Luya unity, but you find that nowadays it's referred to as elusive Luya unity, meaning that something that keeps on eluding. And you might want to know from your perspective and also your experience, what really causes this unity to be unity today, unity tomorrow, and unity?
I think it's largely lack of sincerity with our cause. And a number of leaders have made these groupings alive because, you know, of some selfish interest. Because when they are grouped here, they are able to negotiate for themselves. When they are grouped there, they are able to make deals for themselves. But they are abandoning the larger cause for the community. Because if Western Kenya was marshaled in one basket, and then we could be looking at a region that controls, you know, let's say positions in government, or has a say in who becomes president or who becomes deputy president. Because when you look at our numbers, the least we should get is a deputy president. That's the least Western Kenya should get. But I want to take us back. Look at when we had the late Michael Kijana Wamalwa. That was the undisputed leader of Western Kenya. That was the leader.
I'll be bringing a question to you regarding Michael Wamalwa. Let's also hear Mr. Kiplel, his take on the Western Kenya politics as far as the topic of unity is concerned.
Okay, Western Kenya is one of the region in Kenya that has, I'll say, good population. Good population now, this will, of course, will mean that a lot of votes come from that place. Actually, is a very good region for any person who wants to be a leader in Kenya to concentrate on. Currently, we have 3 factions there. And of course, the recent one that just came up, led by the Honorable Senator Cleophas Malala, about the youths, the regrouping. Of course, we had the Wetangula and Mudavadi faction also. And of course, now we have the Eugene and Oparanya faction. All these groups preach unity. They're saying they are preaching unity of the Luo nation. And I want to use the word you just used. Now it's become an elusive unity because they lack sincerity. They're all saying they want unity, yet they cannot even agree, the 3 factions. They are fighting each other. So I'll say that for that unity to come, I think these people should go back to the drawing board and leave their own interest, and if they want to speak for the people of Western Kenya, and have just one common unity, not 3 factions as happening currently. Yeah.
Many thanks, Dan. Now, lastly, on the Luya unity, back to you, Mr. Kegoli. When it comes to Wamalwa, there have been these arguments which sometimes tries to hold water, that in the year 2002, there was that euphoria that all against KANU, that the people who rallied behind Wamalwa to vote out KANU, to vote as one bloc, was because no one wanted KANU back to power. And there have been these concern for a very long time, which is a justification that indeed the Luya unity, as most leaders and most people call it, will be elusive for some time, or has been elusive for some time.
Well, considering all versus Kano, it will be a larger agenda as to consider Western Kenya alone. But allow me to say this. From the perspective of Western Kenya unity, from that standpoint, what we didn't do immediately was to replace the late Michael Kijana Wamalwa. His demise led to emergence of groups. You know, Maragolis pulled on their own side, Bukusus have pulled on their own side, and the others have pulled in the other, side. So now bringing these people together right now, it's years on, yeah. It's about close to now 2 decades on. So it's not really an easy thing to do, but again, it's a thing of the mind because we are not philosophized into division. Before the demise of Michael Wamalwa Kijana, Maragolis knew it was Wamalwa. Bukuzus knew it was Wamalwa. Everybody else in Western Kenya knew. But now, with the leaders we have currently, there is some effort trying to be rallied around the aspect of unity. But there are also forces against this unity. Because in division, there are those who thrive. In good, it is for the larger good. But now, you'll understand, in times of crisis, there are those who gain, there are those who lose. So those who gain in crisis will want that crisis, the status quo, maintained. And that's what is happening in Western Kenya. You want to imagine a Western Kenya that is united. You want to imagine a Western Kenya that is like Central Kenya. A Western Kenya that is like Rift Valley. You understand? So that is the kind of a picture that we are talking about. But right now, that is not the case.
Many thanks, Mr. Kegoli. Now we come into another overview here of the Kazi Mtaani, which is part of the interventions that the national government came up with, especially to cushion the population, particularly the youth, over the effects, economic effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. But this thing has received a lot of backlash, a lot of criticisms from different quarters. And we wish to know from your perspective, especially Mr. Dan, who has gone around also observing what has been happening, the payments and matters that the youth go through during this period. We really need to see or hear also your input over this, beginning with Mr. Dan, the Kazi.
Well, thank you for the question. One thing I'll say that the government has done several other things, just a matter of trying to cushion the Kenyans after this pandemic that we didn't expect to happen this year. People have lost jobs. You saw the survey, people are around 70% unable to pay rent. And people even don't have food. So it's a great thing. And we want to appreciate what the government is doing to try and cushion the Kenyans. I want to just specifically talk about the youths. And I think these are a more affected population in this country. Most of the youths are now jobless and they don't have anything to do. And it's a very big problem in the country when youths don't have anything to do. Remember what can result to that. The Kazi Mtaani initiative is a good thing. However, I think they could have looked at it in a more broad perspective. Why do I say this? These jobs, when you look at it, is more of casual jobs. They're trying to take advantage of the little things the youth can do in our environment, and like cleaning and all that. But remember, not all youths, okay, we have a very good percentage of youths that can just, okay, the professional, for example, and all the others that are jobless, maybe they lost their jobs. So I think the government could have looked around it, how we can also accommodate all these other people. Remember, not all youths are doing the casual jobs. So it's a good thing, but as we go on, I'll urge the government to at least to look around it and see how they can accommodate all the youth around
so there are those ones who are left out in some of these. Here you are factoring in also people living with disabilities and all those factors. Many thanks. Let's also hear from Mr. Kegoli, his take on this project, the Kazi Mtaani.
You know, the Kazi Mtaani is a program that is coming in at the right time. This program is seen through the lenses of a stimulus program. Because right now, companies have embarked on that massive layoffs. Many youth are rendered jobless. Many SMEs have died, because of this pandemic. And normally what happens is in such times, government comes up with targeted programs that will stimulate the economy. So when such programs are turned on, that means when they take home, let's say 600 shillings and 53 per day, that is going to boost retail sales. Retails are going to move. And when you talk about retail sales, that you're talking about the GDP, because retail sales contribute significantly to the GDP. So when money is in people's pockets, that means people are going to spend, and that means government is going to earn revenue through, that taxation model. So this program is coming in at the right time, at the right place, and with the right mindset. However, I would want to underscore this. As my colleague had mentioned, we have different categories of young people. We have graduates, we have unskilled, we have semi-skilled, we have, skilled young people. So when now government is turning on programs, perhaps, and I know our government is having, the best minds you can ever imagine. So perhaps it's in the pipeline, so that there is a rationalization of now how to target all these people, so that university graduates also feel they are part of the agenda of the government, so that that person who is semi-skilled also feels I belong to this government. What we want is the promise of Jubilee government to keep rolling, so that by the time President Kenyatta is exiting office, and then as young people are able to celebrate and said, when time was worst on our side, President Kenyatta stood and directed programs that targeted towards improving our livelihoods and ensured that we were sustained during that tough time. So it is the right program, and what we need to do as a people is to keep, or to appreciate the government with what it's doing and support other initiatives. And also, I also want to urge the private sector to really come in powerfully and support the president's agenda. When president is talking about this stimulus package, let our private sector also rally effort that will amplify the voice and the effort and the decisions of the president towards stimulating and jumpstarting our economy post-COVID-19. Because right now, globally, economies have taken a very big hit. It's not even comparable to 2008 financial crisis. So what we need to do as Kenyans to summon that Harambee spirit and rally behind the president's initiatives and rally behind the effort towards empowering our young people, who many of whom have been very jobless. In fact, you look at the World Bank report that about 800,000 graduates are released into the job market against a backdrop of close to 150,000 jobs being created. So you want to think about the gap of the unemployment, and if government keeps receiving unemployment claims, and if the economy is not growing fast enough to absorb these graduates who are going into the job market, then it's going to go crazy. And lastly, on that aspect, you see, our education system does not train about life. It makes you pass, but now getting into the realities of life, then you have to maneuver it yourself. You'll ask many graduates, what do you want to do after you graduate? They'll tell you, we want to get a job. You understand? Yet that is the brain that the economy of this country needs to generate entrepreneurial ideas, to generate innovative and creative ideas. Yes, these ideas are very, very, very many in universities. What we need to do, and maybe to support the government, is to develop a framework in terms of, collecting and channeling entrepreneurial activities and ventures and ideas. And there is this white box which the government launched in terms of putting together ideas around the Big Four. So what we need to do is to sensitize young people that there is a platform the government has created. Can we maximize on this platform? Take your innovation that is targeted towards the Big Four agenda into that section, so that government recognizes what effort you're doing. Because again, if you don't speak about what you're doing, government might not really know what you're doing. So come out, young people, present your ideas, let evaluators, guide you in terms of channeling your idea towards economic growth and development.
Many thanks, Mr. Kegoli. Another brief overview is about the issue of reopening churches. Debates have been all over, and just yesterday we saw some of the clergy from Nakuru County talking of Liwe Liwalo, we are going to go back to church, and we are even, another one was threatening, was throwing threats all over that we are even ready to go to jail if we are going to be denied ABCD. But looking at everything here, you remember there was a task force that the government set aside to look into this issue, and it comprised of the representatives of the church. So a number of people are wondering now, who misled who, or what happened, what really happened in those deliberations. So let's hear also from your analysis, from the report that came out from the task force and also from the government, and the lamentations that are coming out here as far as even the capacity and the containment measures of this virus is concerned. Mr. Dan, your input, brief input on this matter.
I'll say one thing, that worshipping in Kenya is a freedom that is in the constitution. It's guaranteed. However, we are through unexpected times, the times where COVID is here and is hard biting. The government came, and there was a task force that came about to draw and see how churches can be open. Remember, before then, there was cries all over. People are saying, you want to go to church. Maybe some are even comparing ourselves with our neighbors. People are going on, people are praying. And even maybe people said, maybe we need divine intervention to this. So if you close the gates of the church, then how are you going to deal with it? About how the whole thing is arranged and how the resumption should be, I think there was not enough thought about the issue about the number of people in a particular place, because there are different churches, different capacity. About the person you are referring, maybe in Nakuru, the person was claiming the church has a capacity of 1,500 people. When you tell them that only 100 people should be there, then in his own words he meant it's like a drop of water in the ocean. It makes sense. So I think it's about how the issue should be about what is the capacity of a different church, what is the distance that is required, and that from that perspective you can get the number of people required at that particular space. So going forward, I think you can rethink about that and see how that can be enhanced. Yeah.
Brief overview from Mr. Kegoli also, the matters to do with the worship places. Wenye wanasema mbona 100 na kanisa iko hivi, na mbona tunakuwa na hii complaint, and we had representatives of religious places. Remember also the Muslims were there and other religions. What happened according to you?
Well, the government had its own decision or its own reasons as to why it directed 100 people capacity of attendance. And, these are extraordinary times that requires extraordinary measures and interventions. So I would say, a church is not like an office. That is a place where interaction is, I would say, unregulated. But in an office, that is an official setting, so you can easily limit interaction. But now a church is attended by nearly everybody. Very, very elderly people go there, which are high risk people. The small children go there, but again, moving forward, maybe government will again review the decision to suit the argument that will be advanced by the clergy, who were part of the panel. So I don't know what they shared with the committee that came up with the decision. Because we've not heard them come and say, we proposed this and the government took that. You understand? So until that is also made clear. When a decision is made when you are on the table, you really can't come out and start to complain unless you're telling us, this was what I advanced and I warned against ABCD. So until you make that clear, you really can't come out and start complaining that now ABCD, because again, government is trying everything it can to blunt the momentum of this COVID-19. Because if you look at it, government is warning that if the trajectory continues, and then our health facilities might be overrun, and government identifies what are the risk areas, what are high risk areas, and churches are among the high risk areas, And again, the Bible says, I'm a Christian, so I would say this. Going to church does not, guarantee divine intervention, because our bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit, and God is everywhere. You can make a prayer from anywhere you are, and that prayer will reach God's desk.
Many thanks, Mr. Edwin. We go for a quick commercial break. As we come back, we'll be looking into the objects of devolution, and also we'll do a brief overview of how devolution has fared in Kenya since the year 2013, and also the current standoff on the crisis of resource allocation in the Senate. Mr. Edwin Kegoli is with us in the House, and also Mr. Daniel Kiplel, and we are looking into the state of devolution. We've taken the first part to do an overview of the current happenings and the current affairs happening in Kenya, especially in the political sector. Do not go far.